Welcome, everyone. It's Matt, and today we're going to talk about Max Monday Ralts. Class will start on November 10th. Let's get class started. All right, for the November Max Monday schedule, we do have Ralts on November 10th. Currently, Inkay is roaming at November 3rd. Toxicity is going to be on November 17th that week. Eevee, November 24th. And we're going to have multiple things on Eevee coming up. And Darumaka, December 1st, is going to be the last of November and honestly the beginning of December as well. All right, Dynamax Ralt is going to be the most interesting of the Dynamaxes that we have. We've already covered this before, but Ralts is a psychic and fairy type. Its IV that you're looking for is a 308 CP for your hundo. I have not received anything, I think, above 301, so I still got a lot of room to improve. Ralts does take increased damage from Ghost, Poison, and Steel as being a Psychic Fairy type at 60% damage, and does take reduced damage 37.5% Psychic and 60.9% in Dragon and Fighting. Overall, its stats are pretty low, and considering everything is pretty consistent across each, and is going to be a pretty easy one-star battle, which I am going to do some decent amount of farming with, as I'm very interested in one of the two evolutions. The first evolution is Dynamax Gardevoir. Gardevoir keeps the same as Ralts as a psychic and a fairy type. Ralts turns into Corellia. Corellia turns into Gardevoir. Gardevoir can be both either male or female, and it is 125 candy, or at least male, female Corellia, I should say. With that, it keeps the same weaknesses and strengths, so it's still weak to Ghost, Poison, Steel at 60%. Takes reduced damage to 37.5% Psychic and 60.9% in Dragon and Fighting. The attack is 237, defense is 195, and stamina is 169, so it's pretty good on attack. Slightly above average in defense and below average in stamina. It's going to have the same stats as Galad. But in general, a Gardevoir does have one incredible weakness, and that weakness is its fast moves, as its fast moves are not fast at all, and instead we're only dealing with one second attack, which is its fastest at Charge Beam, and it's not even the same type of ability. And the other three are the slowest moves in each of those elements: Confusion, Charm, and Magical Leaf. All in all, it's interesting if we could get a 0.5-second attack. So within each season, Pokemon learns different types of fast moves and charge moves. If the fast moves become 0.5 second for Gardevoir, Gardevoir all of a sudden becomes a very interesting tank type. But until then, it will not be a tank because of the slow moves here. Dynamax Glade is the other evolution, the one that is much more interesting for me right now. It does require 125 candy plus a Sinnoh and Corellia must be male in order for Galad to be evolvable. It changes its fairy type to a fighting type, which does give it increased damage now to fairy flying a ghost at plus 60%. It does reduce damage for fighting and rock, though, at 37.5%. And the stats are the same as Gardevoir, but its fast attacks are not the same. The two fast attacks that it does have at 0.5 seconds are both of its same type abilities. So it gains its bonus and enables it for both 0.5 seconds, which does allow it to be a tank. Unlike Gardevoir, at least right now. Yes, the resistances are weak, so Galad isn't going to always be the highest end of the tanks, but it does at least have the 0.5 seconds, which are very important. Its charge moves are all across the board, and they're just fine and dandy, but against 4, 5, and 6-star D-Max and G-Max battles, you will not be using charge moves, instead only focusing on fast moves. All right, for the damage capability in Psychic, right now, Ralts is going to be both Gardevoir and Galad. They're both equal in power to Hatterene as well. The three Pokemon in general are very powerful in attack, especially in Psychic, but they cannot stand the power of the spoon. Abra is stronger than Latios, not by much, but just by a little bit. And overall, those two definitely create a much stronger difference than Hatterene and Ralts. Metagross is stronger than Latios and Abra, but it is a slower attack than Ralts, and by slower attack is slower attack by Galad and Hatterene. So I would choose those over Metagross, but Abra is your number one attack. It is just a D-Max. It is relatively cheap, as if you've been playing for a while, you should have plenty of Abra candy. Next one is Fighting, which is only for Gallade or Galad. And with that, you get a pretty interesting unit. Pokemon in general, Galad is not as strong as Urshifu or G-Max Machamp, but Urshifu is a very expensive unit. Most trainers need to be using rare candy in order to get it. You can get enough rare candy for Urshifu to get it to level 40, but getting it to a level 3 attack is going to be the bigger difference here, and Galad is going to be very simple. And with that, I think it's going to be the quote a cheaper D-Max unit that is affordable and actually still very powerful, especially if you do not have a G-Max Machamp. So all in all, at least we have a good reason to be farming, and Gallade is there with the what I would call your poor man's fighting champion. Finally, we have Fairy. Gardevoir and Hatterene are the same. I personally uh, all right, Gardevoir is a very powerful fairy type attacker with decent tanking and healing capabilities for fairies. But for psychic, it is above average for attacking. Tanking is above average and healing's below average, with the attacker it takes being overall being roughly the same and healing being okay. But the big issue is Gardevoir might seem very tanky, but with its 1.5 and 1.0 second attacks only that it has right now, makes it not usable as a tank for the 4, 5, and 6-star battles, which is the most important battles that we worry about for team. On the other hand, Gallade has the same stats and same overall psychic ability, and overall for fighting, though its attacker is a little less than what Gardevoir is for Fairy, but it's still very, very useful as attacker and a pretty good fighting tank as well, and decent on the healer side on the tank, just like Gardevoir is for Fairy. But because of its 0.5 second attacks, both in fighting and psychic, it has a pretty unique ability to be able to do quick damage, be able to tank fairly well, especially as a fighting type. And overall, I think that in itself makes it a very useful Pokemon right now for the RD Max, especially for the more, what I would say, lesser involved trainers that are just looking for something that they can level up pretty quickly and easily. All right, let's go with our mega units for candy. So right now we have Psychic with Slowbro, Alakazam, Starmie, Medicham, Latios, Gallade, Rayquaza, Gardevoir, Mewtwo X, Mewtwo Y, Delphox, and Malamar. The last 4 and Starmie are still not released, but in general are still can be available at some later point. Right now, Alakazam and Latios are my 3 mega level 3s here for Psychic, and I'll probably choose one of those 3. But we also have a choice for Fairy of Deontay, Floette, Audino, Altaria, Gardevoir, Magnanimous, Clefable, and Mawile. Floette, Magnanimous, and Clefable are currently not released. So if you have these at Mega 3, or if these are your highest, like Mawile had its own day along with Gardevoir, so you might actually have those at Mega 3 as well. Why is it so important? Times Mega, 1 to 6 times you get 1 bonus candy. That takes about 42 days to get to level 6 without any additional Mega Energy. If you do have more Mega Energy, you can speed that up much quicker. Times Mega from 7 to 29, you gain 1 bonus, 10% chance XL, and 50 XP. That will give you 5 days. in between. So every 5 days, you can then mega it for free again. It also has reduced costs on top of it. And once you get to level 3, that's 30 or more, you don't need to mega it unless if you want it at that point. You gain 2 Benedict's candy, 25% chance of drops for XL. That's all three drops. So you get 25% chance increase on all 3 drops and 100 So what's the overall battle plan for Dynamax Ralts? It's a 1-star battle. It takes increased damage from Ghost, Poison, Steel, so Gengarization, Zamazenta, or Toxtricity, and it will melt really quickly. Is Dynamax Gardevoir worth it for you? As a fairy attacker, Gardevoir is equal to Hettering at the number 1 spot, but as a tank, the incredibly slow takes are just brutal. The Dragon fighting resistances are really nice, but the slow attacks just hamper Gardevoir way too much. Has a very low healing capability, and I would rather go for Glade than use Hettering as the fairy attacker than having Gardevoir. But if you like Gardevoir over Hettering, there's no real difference as the fairy attacker. And tanking itself, obviously, there are other fairy tanks that we would rather be using. Is Glade worth it for you? It's not overall the strongest attacker in either fighting or psychic, but the fast attack with the 0.5 seconds is really promising. And the limited resistance is kind of hurt the Glade for the Excel as a tank. Lacking too much HP for tanking, really, with its low resistances. But in general, you can still make it work. And on top of it, as a fighter, it is a poor man strong Pokemon. Obviously, Urshifu would be better, but it does require a decent amount of XLs, which you may not be able to spend on. And with that, a Glade, I think, is something that you trainers should be going for first in general. So for the Urshifu hunt, what to look for November 10th. For single strike, we finally now have 2 Pokemon, Sableye and Inkay. There should be a Tyranitar Mega during that week as well. For raids, for Rapid Strike, we have our normal 4, Squirtle, Krabby, Sabo, and Whalmer, and Tapu Fini on Thursday only for raids on the week of the 10th would be available to help you with Rapid Strike as well. And with that, that's all I have for this week. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. That really helps. Any questions, comments, please comment down below. That helps with the algorithm. If you are interested in joining my community, you can join my community here on both either YouTube or Twitch or Patreon. But if you join my community on YouTube or Patreon, and pay monthly, which will greatly help the channel, and that'll be the best way to help the channel. I will also add you to my friends list and give you other perks as well. With Patreon, you'll be also able to see some of my spreadsheets, and I'm starting to post the slide packages and all that for you guys to read whenever you would like as well for your own convenience. And that's if you are a paid member of Patreon. You also get the name at the end of the video, which you're starting to see is growing, which I'm greatly grateful for. But more importantly, I hope you guys do enjoy, and class will be dismissed. But as always, I'll try to do better next time. Bye, everyone.